Go. Righto, good morning RTSSG. How are we, fans? Guess what?
RTSSG, hello.
Yes, I'm here with Val, here with the wonderful Valy Crowe, and of course Porty. Hello, Porty.
Woof, woof. Hi, guys.
Now, Valy, continuing on with our series of just chats that we're having. What I'd like to do is, if I can, I just want to. We know why the Bequest Society is here, but can we go back to the 90s and back to the dark days, and how did it all come about?
Well, Pete, have you got enough time?
I've got plenty of time for you, Valy.
Thank you. It was a situation where my dear darling, this beautiful man, God rest his soul, he just was approached and told, I'm sorry, you're in $6 million worth of debt, Richmond Football Club. I'm sorry, there ain't going to be a Richmond Football Club. And Crowe turned around and said, over my dead body. And a really, really dark cloud went over the boy for a long, long time. And to have that sort of debt for his beloved club was unbelievable. He could not believe that the club could get to that point.
And what a burden it must have been.
Mate, it was incredible.
Valy, how was he approached, and do you remember who approached him?
It was actually the bank was going to foreclose because they could not carry that sort of debt. And it was a situation that absolutely knocked the board, but particularly Crowe, unbelievably. They just could not find a way. Crowe said, can I please have time to maybe resolve this issue, to get us back into the black, etc., etc. But you need to give me time. And the time offered was very, very minimal.
So he had to raise about $6 million in about 10 weeks or something, wasn't it?
It was a situation that if they raised in excess of $1 million, within the time frame given, which I'm afraid I cannot recall.
Yeah.
I was a little bit busy at that time, actually, RTSSG. The situation was I had given birth to exquisite twin girls. And may I say, because my husband wasn't there, he was living the life of saving our beloved Tigers. I was still having to carry the burden of raising our two beautiful girls. However, I did it with love in my heart, because not only did I have twins, I had a football club that I adored, and I completely supported Crowe's absence. So Crowe, at great lengths, consulted with the football fraternity, every important part of our club, which is, from cheer squad, supporter, staff, volunteers, footballers, coaches, you name it. He got the ideas and the inspiration and the support that the club needed and what Crowe needed. And I can recall nights of Crowe being out at various meetings, consulting with various people, sitting at our dining room table with books up to here, referencing this, referencing that, finding a way. And he said the only way to do this is to launch a campaign. And Crowe came up with the Save Our Skins campaign, which was amazing. This which was printed on so much, whether it be jumpers, whether it be posters, whether it be banners, whether it be advertisements. This was Crowe and a great team that decided this is the only way to get this message across, because we don't want this disappearing.
Yes, it was very, it was really in your face, but it really had to be, didn't it, Valy? Because it was a real serious serious issue.
Absolutely.
We were going to go bust.
We were going to go bust. And how could you let a club of over 100 years just amalgamate with another team? We were the Richmond Tigers, and that's how Crowe wanted it to remain. He didn't want it to become the Melbourne Tigers, or he didn't want it to become the Brisbane Tigers. He wanted it to be the Richmond Punt Road Oval Tigers. And he just dedicated his time, his effort, with good people around him, standing on street corners, KB, Crowe, players, staff members, volunteers, under the guidance of the club, standing there, shaking, rattling tins that were emblazoned with this image, an image that we have to remember, unfortunately.
As far as the club is concerned, as far as the supporter is concerned, Valy, we saw your wonderful man leading the charge from the front, and we were all inspired. But it must have been a heavy toll that he must have been coming home to you at night, and when he gave you 5 minutes, he must have, because the pressure and just the weight of expectation of all of that must have been massive for you and your family to be able to cope with.
Well, Pete, we never saw Crowe. As I said, I saw him at the table, but it wasn't a situation that he was part of the family, and I expected that. I did not expect him to drop what he was doing, because I embraced his support. But it was a very, 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 very lean time emotionally on Neville's shoulders, as well as everybody that was involved with the Richmond Football Club.
But I think with from that time, as much as it was good to get the corporates involved and get big checks, Crowe was somebody that really had an affinity with the everyday supporter out there, and I think that's who he reached. I think that was his success. Would you agree?
Look, I'll tell you, Pete, I'm afraid I can't recall this young little boy's name, but what really touched Crowe's heart, and I think touched many people because he made it very aware, this little boy emptied his piggy bank and brought it to Neville at the club in the administration building and said, "This is my savings. These are my savings from my piggy bank, and I want to give my life savings to the club that I love." And that just absolutely blew everybody away. And yes, it is, we need sponsorship, we need corporates, we need people. But to me, the heart, the soul of any club are the people.
But also at the same time, is it true or not that your own pram that you used to take the girls around in was used for something more than just ferrying babies at one stage? Is that right?
Well, on the day of the SOS campaign that was held at the MCG, my sister Tiger, yes, her name is Tiger, my twins Susara and Isabella and I, we placed ourselves at the entrance of the old members with the big wooden gates behind us. And we had 4 tins, one for Tiger and I, one each for Tiger and I, and one each for the twins. And we were standing there, and the next minute, cheer squads from other clubs came around the corner, emblazoned in their club's regalia, and put the big calico bags filled with coins into my twins' pusher, to a point where I could not carry or push the pusher because my tins, that were also then full, were put into the twins' pusher, and Tiger and I could not push their pusher because of the weight of the coinage. So we had to get a man, I can't even remember who it was, to help push, all 3 of us pushed the twins and all the money back to the Punt Road Oval. And we were hysterical with laughter because it really was very, very funny. And the twins were crying at this time. They'd had enough.
I can imagine. Now, when did you think that, when was the first sign that Crowe said to you, "Dale, I reckon we've got this. I reckon we're going to get this. I reckon we're going to be all right"?
I never actually heard that. I can just remember his feeling when he had the wonderful Jack Dyer at the MCG. Crowe invited him down to speak to the supporters and to speak to everybody that was present on that day.
One of the greatest days of being a Richmond supporter that day.
It was superb.
Apparently the crowd is now up to about 4.5 million people that were there in a ground that people that said they were there.
Does the MCG actually take that capacity, Pete?
Now,
amazing.
Now, I just want to move on so once the pain had gotten and we'd made that quick payment and so forth, Crowe's thoughts must have been very quickly to, how does this not happen again? How do we save it? What was the next step? Because once the immediate danger had been done, it would have been, what's next?
Well, that hit him greatly, Pete, and he said, this cannot happen again. Over his dead body again.
Yeah.
It could not fall back onto everybody's shoulders again to save the Richmond Football Club. The club is in excellent hands presently, and I will never, ever say that anything against anybody there presently. But to actually live those moments, Crowe just thought, it cannot happen again. So he started sourcing information. He was then, at this time, in the early 2000s, Neville was an employee of the Richmond Football Club in the marketing division. And he said, we need to ensure the future of this club, the stability of this club, this financial longevity of the club. And he believed, and his whole life from that moment on was to invest in something that would keep the club going. And that was the Bequest Society, which is really a trust, so that our children, our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, and the future is financially stable and secure.
Which was really clever, because Neville had a great affinity with the everyday supporter, and I suppose that was a great way of him being able to say, hey, do you know what? This is a way that the average supporter could give just a small percentage of their estate, so that in the future we wouldn't have any of these dramas.
That's quite right, Pete.
And that once again, so I suppose, is that how he sort of saw the burden being shared by
the people that love the club. The people that love the club, the real people of the club. All they have to do is offer a percentage of their estate to the club, and that will create the stability and the future. And you know in your heart then that you have ensured the future of your beloved club.
So with the Bequest Society, let me just clarify a couple of things. I understand what it's for, and I understand that we only really touch the interest. But do we have to wait until we're in debt and just about to go broke before we draw on that money, or is it, what can we use that money for?
The interest is utilised, Pete, for important issues required and called upon by the club.
Right.
But the actual principle of the trust can be touched on, or can be utilised if under absolute dire circumstances.
Right.
It is a situation that we have to touch it. But it is only upon absolute extreme.
But even my understanding is with the Bequest Society is that even with the interest that can be used at the moment, none of that money's been drawn upon at the moment, has it?
No, it isn't.
So it's got to be fairly significant for the Bequest Society to fork over some.
Indeed, and it just hopefully will keep compounding, and that's the whole idea, is for the principal to compound and for the interest that is available to be there ready for the club to utilise.
Okay, so you're not just a patron; you're the guiding patron of this
Yes,
wonderful
I am.
of this wonderful organisation. So, what would your message be to any Tiger out there?
For one thing, you've got the message right. You're a Richmond Football Club supporter. That is, we're all very, very lucky, and we're all very clever for choosing such a wonderful club. To be part of the Bequest Society, which I am, which Neville was, it is a feeling of belonging. We belong to something that will ensure the future of our beloved club.
Well,
and that really, truly is a very comfortable, warm feeling.
Okay, RTSSG, I've popped the link to the Bequest Society. So if you've got any questions or queries, or you want to be contacted, please. If you want to be, if you want to be contacted, and if you'd like to be, and it doesn't mean that you have to commit to anything. Just ask the question, and and someone, one of the great people will give you a buzz, and just to fill you in. So click that link, and just maybe just start thinking about what we can do. Valy Crowe, it is an absolute delight. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Porty, for sharing your wonderful
Wake up.
lady with us. And Valy, once again, I look forward to our next chat in RTSSG. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks where we have another chat to Valy Crowe.
Thank you so much, Pete, for your time, and thank you for yours.
See you, Valy.
Bye, my friend.
Bye.
Bye.